Hey everyone, welcome back to 1 Cent Sports Cards YouTube channel. Today I'm doing the second installment of my how-to video series on how to run a successful sports card break on YouTube. We posted the first video about 2 weeks ago or so, and so this video, the first one was about planning and setting expectations. This one is going to be about choosing product and determining pricing. This is one of the most important aspects in ensuring that you set up a successful break that'll be fun for your viewers. And it's really the most important part of planning in your entire break. So without further ado, we'll jump right in. This is the second part of an 8-part series that I'll be doing over the course of the next few weeks and probably a couple months. So being that we're in part 2, I'm hoping to get one of these out once a week or once every other week. So as we continue down this, just know that you will see different parts, and I have created a playlist for all of these. So this one will be part 2. So this is part 2, choosing product and determining pricing. So first we're going to cover off on product. This will be some tips for picking what's right for you and what's right for your audience. So what I mean by that is you've got to pick product that fits within your budget and fits within what your goals are for your break, but you've also got to pick product that's right for your audience. Now, the good news about product is there's all sorts of different products. You can do basketball, you can do football, baseball, obviously, there's hockey, there's different brands, there's Topps, there's Bowman, there's O-Pee-Chee, there's Panini, there's all sorts of different things. But basically what I'm getting at here is that there are a ton of products that you can choose from, which is a good thing, but it also creates some challenges in regards to choosing what's right for your break. So how do you choose what's right for your break? Here's some tips that I've got if you're a new breaker. One is don't go too big to start. What I mean by that is I don't go all the way down the road of buying a case of cards and thinking, okay, great, we're going to break all these. Start with a box, a few boxes maybe, and then get used to doing breaks live, get used to figuring out how it will be financially feasible for you to do it long term, and figure out kind of what your audience likes. Because if you go too big to start and you end up with a bunch of inventory and you can't get rid of it, if you're a card collector like me, what you'll do is you'll end up opening it and it costs you money. The other thing would be to find a niche that works for you and for your audience. So for example, maybe you're into hockey cards, maybe you're into football cards. I do baseball cards, but find a niche. So what I mean by a niche is, are you going to do a $5 fast break, cheap breaks that people can buy into really fast? Or are you going to be someone that says, I want to do the high-end sets and just sell individual cards? You really got to find a niche and then grow that niche. So you don't want to be all things to all people. If you wanted to do high-end cards, for example, you'll find an audience that likes those type of breaks. If you wanted to do random team breaks, which are what I generally tend to do, you'll find an audience where, it's a little bit of a cheaper buy-in for people, and it generates excitement that way. But whatever you do, you don't want to go all over the board and do hockey cards one week, baseball cards the next week, PSA cards the following week, and then a high-end set the following week. That's something I would stay away from. The other thing is to purchase enough product to ensure that there are enough cards to cover all spots in the break. So I've seen some breaks where people buy a box that costs $200 and then there's only 60 cards in the box, and they may have sold the breakout, but what ends up happening is there's not enough cards for example, in baseball with the 30 spots that you could sell in a random team break in baseball. If there's only 60 cards, there's a high likelihood a lot of spots won't actually have cards in them, and that may or may not be legal because you're actually selling nothing to them. So you got to ensure that you've bought enough product that there will be enough cards to cover all 30 spots. So what my general tip on that would be, to make sure that there's at least 200 cards, 250 cards in a break, generally speaking, in a box of, say, 2020 Topps Update or 2020 Topps Series 1, I mean, there would be enough cards in there that you're going to get some cards for every team. So that's really important. You don't want to buy breaks that aren't going to have enough cards. You don't want to buy product that's not going to have enough cards to cover 30 spots in a break. The other thing is buy product that you like. The reason I say this, if you like it, you will know the product better yourself. And generally, if you like it, that probably means a lot of other people like it. Bowman is a prime example. If you like Bowman, lots of people like Bowman. There are some more obscure sets that you might want to steer clear of because you'll find that if most people don't know about it, it's harder to sell spots. So that's something that I would look into as well. Most importantly, I think, is to know the checklist and to know the set that you're thinking about buying before you buy it. So what I mean by that, you may see something that says, hey, it's got 4 autographs, it's got all sorts of stuff, but if you don't, and just buy it. And if you don't know what's actually in that set, and if you don't know the checklist, you may find that, hey, it might not have all 30 teams in it. And you also, if you don't know the set kind of inside and out, you can run into trouble later in regards to there not being enough break spots, there not being enough cards, it not being a set that's going to have enough appeal that people are going to buy into it. So you really want to know the checklist. The easiest way to do that, most of the places where you would buy cards from online will have a sell sheet. They will also have a checklist at least about a week before the release. And you can also go back and look at prior years because generally speaking, year over year, they don't revamp the product completely. So you can do a little bit of research before you buy. One other thing to keep in mind, new sets are popular early, but they can fade quickly, so don't overbuy. What I mean by that is lots of sets come out. In the baseball season, there's probably a new set that comes out every week for the entirety of the season. So early on, people really want to see the cards that are in the new set, but there are some sets that, for lack of a better way to put it, might be a stinker. So if you buy a set, let's say you bought a case of, I won't mention any names of sets, but if you were to buy a case and all of a sudden it ends up being one of those that maybe was hot for a week and you've bought a case of it and you're trying to sell it a month later, you will quickly find that the interest in new products fades pretty quickly because there's other products that are coming right behind it. So if you are a smaller breaker that's just starting out, it's probably going to be much smarter to buy a box or 2, maybe 3, and then continue on from there so you're not burned by a product that kind of fades quickly because the next new thing has come out. Then finally, really important, is set a budget. Keep your target selling price in mind. So what's the budget for your break? So is it going to be $100? Is it going to be $200? Is it going to be $500? And then knowing that what your target selling price is really important. And what I mean by target selling price is how much are you going to sell a spot for? What is your shipping going to cost? And we're going to get into that in just a minute. Finally, know how you're going to plan to promote the product. So promotion is one of the key parts, which we will cover off on series later on. I think it's actually the section right after the section right after this one. So you really want to know how you're going to plan to promote it. Are you going to promote it through Patreon, Facebook, Discord? There's a lot of different ways you can promote, but you really want to know how to promote it before you buy the product. Because if it's a product that you're going to have a tough time promoting, it's something that maybe you want to steer clear of anyways. So as we continue on, there's a few more tips. If you've done a few breaks and want to grow, so this is for the people that maybe have done a few breaks and are looking to grow and maybe do additional breaks in the week or get into bigger breaks. One, if you've probably figured out by now that you have a niche, but you may want to grow out of that a little bit, but stay true to what works. So what I mean by that, if you're someone like me, for example, doing $5 fast breaks, random team spots, doing smaller boxes, you could probably grow and do like a half case or maybe sometimes even a full case, but you really want to stay true to what works. So you always want to test the breaks. You really want to make sure that, make sure you know what works, stay true to that, and then experiment with some newer stuff. But take baby steps on experiments. Again, even if you've done a few breaks, really important that you know the checklist and know the set before you buy. You will be amazed at how many times you think you kind of know the product, but if you haven't done your research, read the sell sheets and whatnot, it's only a matter of time before you get burned on something. The other thing is, if you have done a few breaks, you're probably buying a little bit more product at once. And so what you want to do is plan the future breaks in advance. So don't just buy product, do one break, buy product, do one break. Maybe you buy product for 3 or 4 breaks, do pre-orders. So you know that you're going to have the cards that you want when you want them. And so plan future breaks in advance. And that will really help kind of get you on a cadence that works for you in regards to live streaming. Then the other thing is, as you are selling more breaks and doing more breaks, you can grow your budget a little bit to cover multiple breaks in one purchase. So this goes back to that whole, you buy multiple cards in sets at once. So what I mean is, instead of buying a box or 2 at a time, maybe you can buy a case, and maybe you could buy, 2 boxes of the new Bowman product that's coming out and 3 boxes of the new Topps product that's coming out at once. And sometimes you can do that cheaper. If you're buying at a local card shop or if you're buying at some online things, you can really save on shipping, and you can kind of start getting a bulk quantity discount if you buy in that manner. And then again, it never stops holding true, even if you are a seasoned breaker, that you want to ensure that you can still successfully promote every break. So you don't want to buy a set that isn't going to have the appeal. You don't want to buy too much product that's going to wear off and it's hard selling it later on. So those are some tips on picking product. But now, maybe even more important is, once you've bought product, what's the pricing on it? And how are you going to build trust in your pricing, stay competitive, because there is a ton of breakers out there doing exactly what you do. And ultimately, how are you going to build a customer base that people know that they know who you are, they know that you're going to they're going to have fun in your breaks. They know they're going to get their cards quickly. And so you kind of build a customer base based upon the fact that you've done a few good breaks in the past. So the first thing to know about pricing, there is one truth that I have found holds true no matter what. Never forget, potential break participants love this hobby too. If you're into breaking, it's probably because you love the hobby. But the people that are breaking with you, and your customers, they love the hobby too. So never forget that. That is the one truth. So what does that mean? What that means is the people that are buying into your breaks, they know what this product costs. If the product is sitting on Blowout cards or Steel City Collectibles or at the local card shop, if it is a $100 box, everyone knows that it is a $100 box. Don't think that people are naive. They know what the product costs. And they also know what product is good and not good. This goes back to really knowing the set checklist, really knowing the set that you buy before you buy it. People know what they want. People know what is good. And they also know what's not good. So, because there are sets out there that are stinkers. I know that the Topps Archive Signature Series sometimes gets a bad rap for being a stinker of a set. That is a really tough thing for breakers to break. It's only one card, and a lot of times, for example, the Retired Series last year, there were just not a lot of good cards in the checklist, and people knew that. So people aren't going to be buying into breaks for product that they think isn't all that good. The other thing is if they're watching your breaks, they're probably watching other people's breaks. So they know what other people are charging for this. So if you're someone that's charging $12 a break and everyone else is charging 10, just know that everyone knows what the price on this, what the kind of going rate is. You may, you may be able to charge $1 more or $1 less here or there on a smaller, like a $10 break or something like that, based upon what you've bought the sets for. But really know that if you have a price that's way higher than everyone else, everyone's going to know, and it'll probably be pretty hard to set up a successful break. So what does this mean for you? You got to be fair in your pricing to be successful. Like I said, I've said it in the first one, and I'll say it again. This is not a get-rich-quick scheme. There's a lot of people that break. And if you're fair with your pricing, it is probably the number one thing that will get people to buy into your break and get people to come back. Personally, I've had people tell me that that the reason they come back is because my pricing is good and they enjoy the stream. That is generally the thing that I hear about people that come back into my breaks. So here's some various setups you can consider in regards to pricing. So there's random team spot breaks, which generally have 30 to 32 spots to fill. Those are very similar to the breaks I do. You can also do random card spot breaks. So normally used for the high-end sets with a low quantity of cards in a box or a case. So what that is, so for example, let's say you were doing what is that? It's Topps Dynasty, which I think has like 10 cards or something in it. What you could do is you could sell each card in randomized spots for the cards. So again, it's not a ton of cards, but it's a high-end product. There's also the you pick team break. So that's the auction style format where instead of it being a random team, people get to pick their team. You see a lot of that on eBay. You see a lot of that with the bigger breakers. Those spots are normally filled on eBay. That's probably for bigger breakers, something that if you're a novice or just getting into it, you might not be able to pull off. But I have seen some people do that on Facebook that are smaller breakers. So that is another option that you can consider for pricing. And then there's random division and conference breaks. So this is used when there's not a high quality of cards in the break and there's less break spots. So for example, in baseball, you could sell the divisions, the AL West, NL West, AL Central, AL East, NL East, so on and so forth. So that kind of works really well for cards or sets that don't have a lot of cards. So say it's like a box of Topps Chrome Update and it's only got like 30, 35 cards. You could sell something like that for a division or a conference break, and you're only selling 6 spots. Now the price will generally be a little bit higher because there's only 6 spots, but that is another thing, especially for newer breakers, that it's a lot easier to get 6 people to buy into something than it is to get 30, especially when you haven't built a customer base. So that's something that a newer breaker could also use to kind of generate breaks and to really kind of grow a audience for your breaks. And then there's the individual player break, random and you pick. So this is for small setlets or large case breaks, normally used by large breakers. Probably not anything that people that are watching this video would do. But what that is it's an auction style format where you actually pick an individual player. Say it's Fernando Tatis. Everyone bids on it, and you get out of, say, 3 cases every Fernando Tatis card that comes out of that. But that is not a style I would recommend for any novice or amateur breaker, smaller channels. That is very much a large format, people that are doing it for a living. And then finally, there are raffle breaks, which what people do is, they sell off low-priced raffle spots for a small quantity of higher-end cards or sets. So what I mean by that is what they'll do is, I'm never going to recommend a raffle break. They'll have like 1 or 2 cards and they say, we're going to raffle this $200 card and we're going to sell 10 spots for $25 or something like that. And then they raffle it, and everyone that bought in basically gets a raffle and gets randomized, and whoever wins it wins the 1 card, and the other people are out the money that they put in. That's a type of brake you can do for higher end cards and maybe a higher end set or something like that. Not something that I would recommend doing if you're just getting into braking, but those are various setups that you can consider. There's more, but generally speaking, that's 95% of the brakes that you would see happen. So anyway, so here's some tips for landing on a fair price. First, know your total product and divide by the total number of spots in a brake. So I'm going to actually transfer over here. My example, and we'll kind of go back and forth on this, is so let's say you've got $150 worth of product, and there's 30 spots. So if you do that, if you divide that, each spot is going to be equal to $5. That's what it's going to cost you. So in my example here, I'm going to switch over to my, I'm going to switch over here. Let's just say, for example, the brake would be Topps Stadium Club 2019, a holiday box, and Topps Chrome. This, generally speaking, would be about $150 worth of product. And if you were to divide it by 30 spots, every spot is going to cost you $5 in this. Every spot's going to cost $5 in a brake like this. So we're going to use this brake right here as our example throughout. So as we continue going back to our PowerPoint, we will, let me do this for you real quick. There's some other costs that you're going to want to keep in mind. So that's just what your product costs, but there's other costs you gotta account for. So it's hard to calculate an exact cost for supplies, but it's probably good to have a rough estimate. So for example, if we had 350 cards in a brake, chances are you're going to need about 100 penny sleeves for some of the better cards. You'll probably end up top loading about 50 to 75 cards, and if you've got a bunch of people buying into brakes, say you've got 15 people that have bought into a brake, you're also going to need 15 padded envelopes to ship everything out. This might roughly be about $25 in supplies, and if you add that to your product cost, you're now at $175. So for 30 spots, you are now up to $5.83. So the other thing is to know how much it's going to cost to ship cards to your customers. Remember a few things about shipping. A lot of people will buy multiple spots, so you don't need to account for 30 different packages that you're going to ship out. Generally speaking, the average brake is going to have, 12 to 17 people, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more, depending on what you're braking. But in our example of selling 30 random team spots, you're probably going to average somewhere around 12 to 17. And the other thing on shipping is there's a ton of different ways to ship cards. You can FedEx things, that's expensive. Most people do USPS, but some are more expensive to others, and I'll have a little bit more on shipping in a minute. So if we go back to our example, if the average shipping cost is $4 per customer, and let's say you have 13 breakers, your shipping cost is going to be $52. So now what you have to do is take your $175 for your product and your supplies, and add, say, $52 to it for shipping. So now you're up to $227 divided by 30 spots. If you do that, you're at $7.56, and that's what it's going to cost you to cover all of your costs for the brake. So this is all things you got to keep in mind before we determine what the brake price is going to be for your customers. So one thing that is really nice for your customers is you really want to determine if you can include shipping in the final cost of your brake, or if you need to charge extra for shipping. So for example A, and if you go back to our Topps Stadium Club, if we decided, okay, we know it's going to cost me $7.56, and that's after shipping. you could do $10 a random team spot and say shipping is included, and that will sell faster, but your profit margin on each break spot is going to be less. It'll be $2.44 per spot. An example B, if we use our same Topps Stadium Club, Topps Holiday, and Topps Chrome example, if you say, okay, well, I'm going to charge $10 a random team spot plus $4 shipping, you may have a tough time selling the spots as the price is higher. And again, that goes back to being fair in your pricing. I've seen a lot of people that'll price a break at $10 plus shipping, and then a lot of other people are charging $10 with shipping. You're basically charging $4 more to ensure that you've got your shipping costs covered plus whatever profit margin. So again, if you're looking to get rich on this, you will quickly find that the competitive nature of breaking these days, it is not something, unless you can do it at a large quantity, that you're going to get rich. What it might do is help you, is help support your habit a little bit, and it allows you to kind of do what you love, which is rip packs, see the new sets, see the new cards. So that's something to consider there. As we continue on in pricing, your customers do understand that you may be making profit on breaks, so you don't need to sell everything at a loss. It's kind of supply and demand. They're buying a smaller portion of something that you've invested in, so it is okay to make a little bit of money on a break spot. People know that, but this is not a get-rich-quick scheme. People will not buy into an overpriced break. For example, if we go back to our Topps. If we go back to our Topps our Topps Stadium Club break example that I showed you earlier, your total cost is roughly $227. So if you said 30 break spot at $10 shipping included, what you're actually doing is bringing in $300. So your net profit is only $73. And remember that you're going to spend a ton of time. When I say a ton, you're going to spend multiple hours doing the break itself, sorting the cards, getting them ready for shipping, getting them all shipped. So my advice to everyone is break because you enjoy opening the boxes, hanging out with the community, and pulling sweet hits for other people's collections. If this is something that you're going to just say, I'm doing it for the money only, you probably are not going to have long-term success because, again, everything's just really competitively priced. And if you're not doing it because you love doing it, it's probably not for you in the first place. So there are a lot of people who do breaks. When you think about pricing, it's pretty easy to find similar break setups from other breakers. And if you try and stay competitive with their pricing structures, what you'll find is most people will be like, all right, if breaker A over here was charging $10 a spot and they're charging $10 over here, maybe there's one guy that's doing a $12 spot. Generally speaking, if you are staying competitive with what your other breakers are doing, it's always good to know what other people are doing and stay competitive with that. And then the other thing, when you're searching for a product and trying to determine pricing, be diligent. There is sales and deals all the time at local card shops and online. If you can figure out how to get your product a little bit cheaper, a lot of times, like if you pre-order stuff, it's a lot cheaper if you pre-order it 4 months in advance, or if you watch the sales and if you watch the different online outlets that sell cards, and if you kind of keep an eye on all of them, you'll see that sometimes some sell it for higher, some sell it for lower. But what I like to do is pass the savings that I get on to my customers, and it makes your break a little bit more competitive. A competitive price is going to be the number one thing that gets people to buy into your break. So if you can figure out how to make your break even if it's $1 cheaper, you're going to have an easy time selling this stuff compared to the guy that's going to be $1 more than you. And then the other thing is research shipping costs to get your shipping rates lower. These are all ways that you can really make things competitive for your break. There's a ton of different ways to ship cards. And if you walk into your local post office, what you'll probably find is that's a little bit more expensive than exploring some online shipping alternatives that you can go into. I won't get into what all those are now. We have something about shipping later that I can help you with shipping, but going in and buying that flat rate box at USPS, that is probably not going to be the most cost effective way for you to get your shipping down. And then the other thing to remember about pricing and to make your break successful is always try to offer something a little extra that makes your break a little bit more competitive or a little bit more attractive than some of the other breakers out there. So for example, maybe you do a giveaway. I do like PSA card giveaways a lot. Maybe it's a free break spot. So I've done that in the past where you say, okay, I'm only going to sell 29 spots and then we're going to random off one of the break spots for free for anyone that buys into the break. Things like that. You can be creative. There's a lot of different things you can do out there. So that is going to be the part 2 of pricing and promoting. I hope you guys like this how-to video series. If you do, go throw over the first, hit that like button, and I hope that this has been a helpful how-to. If you have any questions about pricing or about product and you want to shoot me a note, my email is in my About section of on my channel on YouTube, or you can just comment below and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you guys have to help you out. So with that, guys, hope you're having a great time on your pack rips. Hope you're pulling some fire and getting some luck with those, and be on the lookout for part 3, which is going to be all about promoting your break. Another important part to making sure that your breakers have a fun experience and that you are able to sell out break spots quickly and get this thing to be successful for you. With that, guys, I'm going to sign off. You guys have a great day, and we will talk to you soon.